Let's talk about Victor Osimhen, because there might be a knock-on effect for him and Liverpool. So what I mean by that is Fabrizio Romano and others have said, understand Victor Osimhen's deal with Al Hilal is about to collapse because there's no agreement with the player. Galatasaray have entered strong in the race trying to get a deal done. Now, why does this matter for Liverpool? Well, for a couple of reasons. One, if they don't get Osimhen, there's a very good chance they come back in for Darwin Núñez. So keep an eye on that situation. If Osimhen to Al Hilal doesn't happen, then keep an eye on Darwin. That may happen. They've been linked with Darwin Núñez in the past, and they may make a move if the Osimhen deal doesn't go through. So I want to ask you about Victor Osimhen, ladies and gentlemen, on a poll. Right, so I'm going to ask you, which one of these would you take at Liverpool? So bear with me. Right, so would you take Victor Osimhen at Liverpool or Ekitike? Let me know which one. And the reason that I ask this is there's lots of conversation now that Liverpool are trying to, I don't want to say hijack Chelsea's deal for Hugo Ekitike, but that the player is pausing to listen to all offers and to see what's happening. Chelsea are pushing really hard. And this is not my information, by the way, because like I've said, I don't have any information on the striker department, but it looks like, according to reports, let me get them up here for you. So Florian Plettenberg said, Chelsea pushing and want to finalise the deal, but Liverpool are also there. Chelsea currently working on a verbal agreement with Hugo Ekitike. There's already been initial contact with Eintracht Frankfurt. Eintracht Frankfurt still demanding €100 million. It remains open whether Chelsea and Frankfurt will reach an agreement. So Liverpool keeping tabs on it, shall we say. Sasha Tavolieri said Hugo Ekitike wants to take his time to think things through. Even though Chelsea Football Club is pushing to reach an agreement with the Frenchman, Liverpool is still very much in the race. Aston Villa also keeping a close eye on the striker situation. Now, I haven't got a clue. Like I've said all the way through, I don't know who's the most likely. But certainly Ekitike's name is one that just isn't going away with any of these. Alex said, imagine looking at Chelsea's roster and being convinced by a manager that you'll ever get playing time. I know, they just signed Liam Delap as well. And, you know, they still have, I know that they're going to move on Christopher Nkunku, but yeah, it's nuts. It's absolutely crazy. And do you want something that's really going to blow your mind? Apparently, according to The Athletic, Chelsea have the biggest wiggle room with PSR. I shit you not. Apparently, Chelsea have 300 million quid in PSR space. Don't ask me how, because I've given up trying to figure it out. But if you haven't seen that piece, have a little search for it maybe. You'll see the graph. It blew my mind when I seen, like, how on earth can Chelsea have that much wiggle room with PSR? It is, I give up trying to figure out football finance. Dave Ebaj said, I just fed up on Chelsea. How many players do they want? And giving players 9-year contracts. I know, it's nuts. It's nuts, mate. I've tried to figure this shit out many times, and I just haven't got a clue what's going on. The Mail have said, in response to the question, will Liverpool go big on a striker, Lewis Steele at the Mail gave an update. The noise in the last week has been that after wrapping up the Florian Wirtz deal, Liverpool will turn their attention to targeting a number 9 and a defender. Hugo Ekitike is the name that crops up the most, but Chelsea are also in that race, despite the fact that they're already signing Liam Delap. The number 9 market is not an easy one to shop in, and I would expect more names to emerge in the next few weeks if they decide to press forward and buy one. But to sign a striker this summer, they would certainly have to sell some players, including a certain Darwin Núñez. As such, there's been speculation about different targets. Liverpool have not yet paid much attention to negotiating a deal for one. So Lewis Steele doesn't think we're all that close to signing a striker. And again, I'll be honest, and like I've always been, I don't know on the striker situation. Are you worried that nobody seems to be interested in Darwin and that this will affect our window? I've got to be honest, David, I'm not worried, but I'm a little bit surprised. I did think that Darwin Núñez would be gone as soon as the window opened. Like, I'm talking day 1 or 2. I don't know if maybe some players being on international duty and agents already working on other deals means it's a bit slower. I don't know if they're waiting, let's say, to see if Al Hilal come in after missing out on Victor Osimhen, but yeah, definitely a little bit surprised, mate, that it hasn't moved along quicker than it has, as in Darwin leaving. If Ekitike has a brain, he'd choose us. More chances of trophies and a better pathway to the France team with playing time. Plus, we have an Ibu. Well, how much longer we have an Ibu for, not really sure of, mate. Hopefully, he does sign an extension, but, you know, it's going to be a big summer around his future. We asked, would you take Osimhen at Liverpool or Ekitike? 58% have said Hugo Ekitike would be the one, And of them two, yeah, I'd be in that camp as well, to be honest with you. What's the Ekitike news? Has not seen a lot today. So the reports started to come out that Chelsea were pushing really hard to try and sign Hugo Ekitike. And then a source from Frankfurt came out to say that Liverpool are trying to hijack that deal that Chelsea are pushing for Hugo Ekitike. Then Sacha Tavolieri said Ekitike wants to take time to think things through. Even though Chelsea's pushing really hard for an agreement with the player, Liverpool are still very much in the race. Aston Villa also keeping a close eye on the situation. Then Florian Plettenberg said, Chelsea are currently working on a verbal agreement with Ekitike. There's already been initial contact with Frankfurt. They're still demanding €100 million. And then his latest update, he went on to say Chelsea are pushing and want to finalise the deal, but Liverpool are also there. Now, I can't help out with information on a striker. Like I've said all the way through, I haven't got a clue what's going on in that regard. So Lewis Steele said, the noise in the last week has been that after wrapping up the Wirtz deal, Liverpool will turn their attention to a number 9 and a defender. Ekitike is the name that crops up the most, but Chelsea are also in that race despite the fact they've signed Lindelof. The number 9 market is not an easy one to shop in, and I would expect more names to emerge in the next weeks if they decide to press forward with buying one. But to sign a striker this summer, they would certainly have to sell players, including Darwin Núñez. And that's why we come back to the Al Hilal situation. Because if they don't get that deal for Victor Osimhen, which it looks like it's about to collapse according to various journalists, then they will turn their attention probably to Darwin Núñez, and hopefully we get a here we go and Darwin leaving soon and the Reds can start shopping for that number 9. If not Alvarez / Isak, we should wait till next year. That's an interesting train of thought, because obviously if we did wait till next year, you keep Diogo Jota around as an example. You let Jadon Danns go out on loan and develop. Maybe then you start to play Wirtz in the false 9 or move Salah central. Might be a possibility for young Rio to kick on. But I would rather we waited than just spent money on a striker for the sake of it. I totally agree with you on that one, David. Craig, we're still targeting João Pedro. Newcastle's name has been the latest one I've seen in the mix for João Pedro. Again, valuations are fluctuating quite a lot on this one, between 40 and 80 million. But Newcastle apparently entered the race to try to sign him in the last few days, or at least it became public knowledge in the past few days. Where he ends up, I really don't know. Lee Thompson said, seems Saudi have open talks for Núñez. Yeah, there's been lots of chatter that after, what's this one? Yeah. So Nico Shearer saying that as well, that Al Hilal have open talks for Darwin. So, fingers crossed. I know I sound shitty when I say that, but I really am looking forward to saying and closing off the Darwin Núñez chapter. It's been a really frustrating one because the kid's a talented player, but, it's just not worked out.